Region Lost number 6, written by Fabian Nicieza and Tom DeFalco, art by Pete Woods. We left off last issue with Gates, supposedly the dead member, coming through a portal and rejoining the group, and Timberwolf, along with Chameleon Girl, who is in a different alien body, were stopped by Martian Manhunter. This issue picks up. Martian Manhunter was telling Timberwolf, like, so I picked up a signal in my own book, I guess, and I traced it and it led me back to you, but you somehow recognize me, which I'm like a ghost, so how's that happening? And Timberwolf's like, wouldn't you like to know, Martian Manhunter? And he's like, all right, I'm not a fan of this at all. Also, he knocked out Timberwolf for the military to find, and so Chameleon Girl and him are both now custody of, I think, the Black Razor group from like 2 issues ago. Regardless, there's this whole just basically prison breakout scene throughout the entire issue. Gates is teleporting in because he has a real dislike of any sort of form of authority. He punches a dude in the face and calls him a fascist taxidermist. So that's a thing. Everyone else is just bailing in, getting ready to fight. Timberwolf is talking to somebody in charge, Major Nicholson, and just like, so we've been tracking your people. You've been around for a while, bumping around, just causing a whole bunch of trouble, and we think we got a good feel on all of you. And she just lists off all the different Legion members, and basically just Timberwolf's just like, yeah, okay, so I can leave pretty much whenever I want, regardless of these stupid little restraints, but I'm not going to leave until I have my friend with me. Where is she? And she's like, oh, well, we've got her sedated. She's not killed, if that's what you're asking, but you're not going to get to her. And he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So we just see more of the prison break, and the group's just splitting up in order to find both where Chameleon Girl and Timberwolf are being held. Tellus is actually back at the motel, keeping an eye on Alistair because he's still out cold. And they checked in with him, and apparently, it gets to the end of the issue, it happens at the very end, but apparently the strain of him trying to mentally probe Alistair while talking to them at such a distance basically knocks him out. They don't show that here, but that happened. So we just see them again going in, breaking out. Tyrock and I always forget the name of this guy, Wildfire, break out Chameleon Girl, and they're like, what, are we going to be able to get her back to normal? And it's like, oh, let's worry about getting her out first. But as they're taking her away, Martian Manhunter comes in and he's like, stop, you're making a mistake. And he's like, okay. And he does this big shapeshifter thing, so they start fighting him. And of course, everyone's being cryptic and not sharing like who they are or what they're doing and whatever. And then finally, Tyrock realized, like, wait a minute. Oh, shoot, I recognize this guy. Hey, stop trying to kill each other. Hey, yeah, no, look, we're from the 31st century. I know you're Martian Manhunter. Go ahead and read my mind. And he just opens up his mind and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, you guys are good guys. All right, cool. So your girly friend here needs some more biomass if she's going to turn back into Chameleon Girl. I think they have some in the basement. How about we go ahead? And Wildfire's like, excuse me? Weren't we just fighting like 6 seconds ago? But anyway, the government people see all this on the screens, and they're getting pissed off because Timberwolf keeps like taunting them. And she tells him to shut up, and he's like, all right, breaks out of the gauntlets that he was held in. Because again, he knows where she is now and that she's safe, so no problem. They call in basically this giant like alien like robo-walker thing, and immediately Dawnstar comes in and just smashes it to pieces. And I think she's the one who's like the overarching narrator on this one. And she just makes the point of like, we were supposed to be like superheroes, but I think like we're a diplomat sort of mission. Like we're not usually the soldiers, but I think that we're going to have to become guerrilla warriors. So that kind of sucks. But whatever, they get to fighting. Timberwolf meets up with Gates and it's like, how are you back? And he's like, I'll tell you next issue. And then we see Martian Manhunter pull out the bit of the biomass that's kept in the basement so that Chameleon Girl can regenerate. And apparently he needed something from her, and that's the whole reason that he's helping. So he helps her regenerate. She gets out of that evil-looking alien form, and she's just her normal self. And then he pulls some sort of signal. He says, the energy signature from 6 days ago was incomplete. My associates needed more, so I followed the faint trail to you. And then he just lets him go. And he straight up says that time travel is strictly one way. You guys are stuck here forever. His literal words are, you're all going to die here. And then he disappears. So we go back to the motel. We see that Alistair has escaped because Tellus passed out. And they're like, oh, that's fine. We caught him once. We'll catch him again. It's not like that was the plot of the last 5 issues or anything. But now they're not only worrying about that, though, as Gates so elegantly puts it, how the splots do we get home? So yeah, I like this issue. I think in terms of like having a pointless cameo of some character from a different book for the sake of synergy, I think this is one of the better ways to handle it. Where for some reason, it's still a little bit nebulous, but for some reason the character needed to be there. And once it became a point of like, wait a minute, we're on the same side, the fighting just dead stopped. It wasn't a thing of like, oh, we fight until one of us is knocked out and then we finally get to talking. It's like, no, as soon as Tyrock recognized Martian Manhunter, he's like, oh, wait, hold on. No, we're cool. And he's like, oh, yeah, you guys are cool. Great. I think that's a great way to handle it. And he legitimately helped them. He legitimately was just like, all right, here's your friend back. Glad I could be of service. You're all going to die here. Goodbye. So yeah, no. I enjoyed this issue for what it was. It still wasn't like super strong though, because it was just one extended Prison Break issue where they could get out at any point they wanted to begin with. Like, none of this really felt like it was necessary from a plot standpoint, but I like it from the story it's telling sort of standpoint. So I'm going to give it a 6.5. It just kind of felt like a filler thing in order to make them realize they're not going to be able to get home. Because I feel like that's not going to be... The only way they're going to be able to do that otherwise is if they take some time and try to actually deal with the ship, which I guess they could have done, but to have an external character say you're never getting home at least leaves the option of, okay, well, maybe we could discover our own way. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I'm going to give it a 6.5. And we only got 1 issue left in the trade, so I'm looking to see how we wrap all this up.